Team Vector.
What's up, Aces? It's me, Professor Mimi, here with guest Rhys today instead of our usual co-host Leroy. Say hi, Rhys.
Hey everybody, how you doing?
And it's our show, so we'll be playing some max raid battles in the background while we have a discussion about Vanguard redraws as the titular redraw podcast. Because it's the first time we're having somebody new on. I like to take some time to talk with them about Vanguard in general and whatnot. So today we're talking with Rhys about redraws and card games and whatnot. So there we go, right? I'm nervous. I'm sorry. I'm gonna get some water. You can start the thingy. I guess the best place to start is if for some reason anybody watching doesn't know how the redraw in Vanguard works. At the beginning of the game, you open with 5 cards in your hand. You need to take any cards you don't want, put them back on the bottom, and draw 5 more cards, or draw until you have 5 cards in hand again. I'm sorry. For me here, I guess I'll take what? Gorgeist. They're all. I'm gonna take Doug Trio. They're all pretty sus. As opposed to games like Magic, where the new redraw system allows you to do something similar, where you because they draw hands of 7. After you draw your opening hand, you can redraw your entire hand. But then afterwards, for each time you've redrawed your hand, you take a card from that top of your deck, and you put it on the bottom if you decide to keep that hand. So, for example, you open your hand of 7, you're like, nah, I don't like this. And you redraw them all. And then you look at your hand again, and you're like, of these 7, you know what? These all suck too. I got 7 lands. This is terrible. You ship it all back, then you open it up again. You got a playable hand. You'd have to send back 2 cards to the bottom and keep a 5-card hand because you redrew twice. Unlike in Vanguard where we get 1 draw ever, or 1 redraw total. You can do none, you can do 5, as usual. But it's kind of nice, right? At least, like, isn't that one of the best parts about the game, in your opinion?
Yeah, because honestly, if you had to just play your hand in Vanguard with 50 random cards, well, 49,
Yeah.
There's just so much room to go wrong with triggers.
And writing up grades and whatnot, like, it's a nightmare.
It would be terrible. I couldn't imagine it.
Trying to balance decks out, you'd have, like... You'd either have... It would be so tough to have the right amount of 3s, because if you have any in your opening hand, you're kind of screwed, because you don't want them in your opening at that point, like, almost ever. So you'd have to run quite a few, especially... And then now with imaginary gifts, but you want to maximize them, so you kind of be at a loss either way.
That balance of having enough grade, like having the grade 3 to get your gift and continuing to get to them, but not getting cluttered with them before you even get to grade 3, because that's terrible. Not a fun time.
As opposed to, well, like, now you can use it in order to run 10 or 11 grade 1s and make your deck still run rather smoothly with a deep enough redraw early on in the game, right?
Yeah.
I think that's, like, pretty standard now in Standard. Most people are on, like, 11 or 10 1s. Because, like, usually it was like 12, 13, 14 for a while, but now it's getting lower and lower. I doubt anybody's ever going down to 9, personally. But I don't know, man. I've seen stranger things. I've seen people on 0 perfect cards in the modern day. It's happened. Or, like, 2. And you're like, why? You're not even running Sentinel crits. What are you doing? Get it together.
Yeah, like, there's budget, and then
there's budget, and then
not even putting the effort in.
Yeah, there's jank, and then there's just like there's just stuff that makes you just shake your head, and you're just like, why do you people do this to us?
What was another?
See, like, Yu-Gi-Oh!
Magic's mulligan was alright, but Yu-Gi-Oh! If Yu-Gi-Oh! Had a mulligan, I mean, when the game first came out.
Yeah, like, it would have been nice, but nowadays, I don't know, man.
Now, absolutely not.
I
tried to relearn Yu-Gi-Oh! A little while ago, and I wasn't feeling it.
No, I was getting back into it a little while ago. I was having a good time with Madolches, but yeah, Madolches are just finally feeling like a modern day archetype, because What, that boss was from like 2012, and the cards that come out today are just like they're bosses on the same level as Tiramisu. I still get people I play against being like, "Wait, no, you can't target it." And I'm like, "No, Tiramisu doesn't target." It gets people to this day. They're just like, "But my card is immune," and I'm like, "I do not care. Please get rid of it, so I can OTK you with my fluffy creatures." That's what
That
I'm.
was one of the things that was really weird for me about Yu-Gi-Oh! Like how some of the effects interacted with each other was just
Yeah, the rulings are for not like. Do you want to try
yeah,
and
like
explain to me
freaking-
missing the timing right here, right now, Rhys? Can you explain to me missing the timing?
the more I think about it, the more it infuriates me. But it's like if two effects take place at the same time with the same trigger, you have to pick one of the two, and then the other one can no longer resolve as a result. It's just
I think it's something to do with like the if/when. So like if it's at certain cards like start chains or whatever, or no, it's because it's mandatory. I feel like it's because when a card says when this card is sent to the graveyard, it implies it's like a May or something, and that like it activates. You have to choose to activate that ability, which you can only do at like spell speed 1, but you're like in the middle of a chain, so you can't do that. But then if a card says if this card is, so it's like it's conditional, which is dumb because maybe it's the other way around. But it's one of those two things, I think. I guess I take the bright powder here. I don't know, dude.
take the weakness policy.
Sometimes those items are just hot trash, and sometimes you're just like, that was the Violite. That was my whole build, this whole run. I was waiting for this moment.
Uh,
But like back in the day, you would play Yu-Gi-Oh! And you're like, you open up your 5 trap card hand, and you're like, I guess this is technically a hand. Like, yeah, I have interaction or whatever, but nobody wants a card full of, or a handful of 5 trap cards. That's not even fun for the control player. I mean, I don't
Yeah,
know.
like-
Maybe you are that guy, and you're like, you get a kick every time you set 5 pass. You just get a little excited in a little way you shouldn't.
Yeah, that's in the early days of Yu-Gi-Oh! When the game was much slower. Mulligan would have been amazing for the game.
Oh,
Well, redraw would have been amazing for the game.
yeah, like imagine if it was even like the same mechanic as Vanguard. That'd be pretty cool. It's like OG Yu-Gi-Oh with that.
Yeah,
That'd be
like,
kind of
that
fun. Maybe
would
to
be
play
dope.
test that one day. Like play GOAT format, but with redraw. Playing modern Yu-Gi-Oh with redraw. Like if every card in your deck is something that can win you the game by itself, like in some way, like it either completely stops your opponent from playing the game or enables an entire combo by itself, then I think getting able to fill your deck with all those Garnet cards or whatever and then just redraw them into your deck is kind of silly. And the whole game has a lot of those now, or whatever. Like there's those memes, right, where somebody's like, check out my sick combo deck. I can end on a board of like 6 Omni Negates. And they're like, wow, okay, how do you possibly do that? And they're like, oh, don't worry, I only have like 7 Garnets and 12 bricks. It's fine.
Like, what?
It's like when you walk up to, it's like when you see me talking about my meme tier Bermuda decks. Oh, I was supposed to catch that. Damn it. When I'm talking about my meme tier Bermuda decks, and I'm like, oh, don't worry, this deck is legit. It has like 18 grade 3s. It's really strong. And you're like, Michael, what are you on again? Can I have some? Sometimes I feel like that when you always having to
I was
rethink
looking
your
at
card
a
your deck every
list.
3 seconds. You're like, no, this
Yeah.
one of is the one that's right. No, it's this one of. No, it's this one of. But at least you know what your 4-ups are. And that is what the
Yeah,
1-up
and
slot is for,
now-
isn't it?
Yeah, the one-up slots just made it really easy. But even then, it was just like, once I realized like what was like great, it just made me want to change the whole build, because now it's like, all right, I know what it's like to have 4 of everything. What about tweaking the numbers a little bit? What was I playing that wasn't as effective, that, you know, if I'm presented with a redraw scenario, that I can just you know, make good with. Ooh, do I
Yeah,
want?
like if you can cut like down like from -1 grade 1, 1 grade 2 somewhere, because you in Overlord have problems finding rear guards. So then you know using your redraw in order to help handle things that your deck struggles with is a big deal. Like in Premium, I was playtesting against a good friend of mine, Curtis, and he always started keeping heal triggers in his opening hand because he's like they just have so much shield. Like if I open it, I'm not even putting it back. Honestly, I'm putting back everything that's not at 0. I'll hit 1s, I'll hit 2s, I'll be fine. I don't think it actually went that far, but it was something to
Well,
that
my
extent.
thought process was I was just playing and seeing what was the most impactful on my plays. So, before this, I literally played 4 of everything. But now it's just like, I don't really need 4 of everything. There are cards I can cut back on. Like in my build, I cut back on Ducat. And it's funny because I was like tweaking my deck as I was finally sitting down to watch the uh, WGP finals, the one that Overlord won. And I literally just assembled my deck to basically a card for card version of that deck, where instead of playing Berserk Dragon, I played Ducat, which was previously one of my 4-ofs. As great as Ducat is, I am never going to down talk that card in that deck. It's got a lot of value, but you don't really need 4 of it because you can just mulligan it early and you'll eventually just draw into it, and then it's just even more value.
Yeah, that's a concept I think in Magic when they do deck building. It's like when you have 4 of a card, like the general philosophy on it is that you want to see it every game, and you are okay with seeing multiples of it, like pretty much whenever. Like you're okay with seeing multiples early, and you're okay with seeing multiples late. And you run 3 of a card if you need to see it every game, but you don't want to see multiples. So like that's why often they'll run like legendary creatures or legendary enchantments at 3 that their deck is built around or whatever. And if their deck isn't built around it, they'll run it at 2, because it's like strong or whatever. And then Ducat kind of feels like a legendary. His Soul Blast ability, you can't really get away with
Full
using
charge
too much.
ability.
Oh wait, am I thinking of? Isn't Ducat the grade?
Ducat's the grade 2. That
Yeah.
kind of last one put into Soul to give your
Oh.
Vanguard your Dragonic Overlord at the end heavy guard.
Oh, that's nuts. I was thinking of the one that you like Soul Blast 2 to retire something, and then like you check the top 7 or something.
That's Dragon Full Armored Buster, and that actually got replaced by Ignorode because Ignorode searches top 7 for the cross for free.
Oh, yeah, for free, yo.
Yeah, no Soul Blast. And it gains 5k power every time your Vanguard attacks when you have 4 less cards in your hand. And thanks to cross ability, it's always 0. So it's just an infinitely better card in that particular build.
Yeah, so you attack with it last and it gets plus 15. That's pretty strong. That's some synergy right there.
So one of the things that made me start cutting down on the 4-ofs was that, well, I tried Burn Rise. It was cool, but it was more of a meme play at 1-of. But it wasn't worth committing more than 1 slot to, at least in that particular build. Prior to that, I played Striken, which was another fun meme, but
oh yeah, I built a whole deck around Striken at the beginning of the game. Real fun meme.
Striken was dumb. I played against Leroy using Striken, and I actually got the Break Ride skill off with enough damage to just like run him over on turn 3. With Ducat, he was not happy.
Yeah, nobody would be happy about that. I think if for anybody out there who's going to be a long-time viewer of the channel, or if you're coming back to this and you are a long-time viewer, when I mention in a Vanguard deck building 101 a tempo deck that I built just because I wanted to say that I made a tempo deck, it was a Striken Overlord deck. It was hot something. Was it hot garbage? Was it hot memes? The world may never know.
It was hot. That deck was fun.
It was pretty fun.
If you're if you're just playing a casual game and they weren't prepared for it, it was just like, but why?
Oh yeah, especially because like you could like pull like some damage control shot on them they weren't ready for. Because like it's just casuals who's doing damage control. I'm turning my dude sideways at you, friendo. Then you get to reverse Uno card them and be like, ah, but I was the one controlling you all along.
Yep. The way that you redraw also really depends on how your deck is structured.
Oh yeah, for sure. Like the one time I topped the regionals, my one claim to fame, I ran 10 grade 1s, and my strat was, you know what? If I don't see a grade 1 in my opening 5, I'm shipping my whole hand back, no questions asked. And it worked out for me. I was able to free up one last slot I needed in order to not have to cut a card. And then we didn't top the whole tournament. We got 3rd place. It's pretty good. I won my mirror matches. So, I don't often win my mirror matches. I'm notorious for losing mirror matches. And you're like, but Michael, that means that you're bad at the video game. What are you talking about? No, listen. Mirror matches are played differently from the normal game. You have to, like, know the mirror match. But if you never play the mirror match because nobody at your local plays Murakumo for whatever reason, then you're gonna have a RJ played Murakumos.
You gotta have a bad time.
I didn't. Yeah, I had a really bad time. I should not have taken Murakumos to regionals the times I did. But the time I did top, it was not Murakumos. It was my signature Bermuda Triangle. But that was the Ange format. And now people know why I'm always so hankering for Ange to come back, because I miss my girl. She, like, honestly though, she can't come back off the list. The premium ban list is kind of silly. They have a bunch of stuff on there just because they don't want. I got 2 helping hands here. Really? It's better do some damage. Oh, I used to. Why did they dump? The AI in this game confuses me. Goodness.
Oh, did it auto?
Yeah, they set 2 helping hands up on me so that I could substitute. Sick plays. It is the strongest substitute there ever was. But they have like that stand trigger in Neo Nectar that's on the list, and it doesn't need to be like it enables an infinite gameplay loop. Oh, but like the infinite gameplay loop gives you like plus 40k power or something. I don't even think it actually gives you. Maybe it gives you infinite power in one attack. It's been so long, but it's not game breaking. I think Dr. Red Refros is still on the list. Like still, like they don't want us doing any of those loops at all. But maybe it would make Angel Feather cool again. You know, you could pull off some fancy plays.
Nah.
No?
No more loops. No more loops.
No. I guess they're just like, they just don't want anybody doing any of that. So those 2 things are staying on the list. Probably forever, I guess. But like, well, I don't know why they had to limit Ange to 1 copy and ban Ellie. Like, if they were both limited, I get it. If Ellie's banned, I get it. But like,
in case we missed anything.
But like, it's just. I don't know if they play the premium metagame at all ever, but like it's it's all dark. It's not all dark irregulars, but like it feels like it's all dark irregulars. Okay, it's a bad time out here. If anybody has not had to play against dark irregulars in premium recently with Gasteel, Gasteel copies things and does stuff, and some players do it improperly and they don't keep you at 0 damage and delete you off the face of the earth before you get to play the game. But if they're doing it right, they keep you at 0 damage, and on their first stride, they delete you off the face of the earth before you play the game. And then they play usually like a defensive-ish early game where they ride up and draw cards and pick off your rear guards, and then they let you stride for free, or they let you get first stride because they know that their first stride is the strongest in the format. They attack you with their Vanguard like 3 times, 4 times. They attack you with a rear guard columns. They're like 130,000 6+ times. It's scary, man. It's scary. Nothing can really stand up. Nothing can tank the turn. I think with some of the stuff from Premium Collection 2020, it's actually a lot more doable. I haven't actually got to play much Premium since the new Premium Collection came out, which I complained about the Murakumo card because I got to play against that online. That was fun. Not fun. But the Cray Elementals allow you to do some interesting damage play opportunities. There's one that lets you bind itself instead of taking a damage if you've already taken like 3 or whatever. So like in Bermuda Triangle, you could G-guard and then call 1 to rear guard. when your opponent thinks they're about to win and be like, actually, with that last attack, I call this guy to rear guard, and then actually I can't guard your 10 billion K attack with my G guard, so I guess that's enough guarding. Oh wait, I can bind this guy and I don't lose. And in order to do their wombo combo, they literally discard their entire hand. No, they literally discard their entire hand, so you can just kill them after that. Because they have no hand, and you get to do second stride premium things. That's gross. If your deck can't win second stride in premium, you shouldn't be playing that deck. Because the format is based around winning first stride, Murakumo, Dark Irregular, etc. But winning second stride is kind of like everybody else's plan. And even my current Bermuda deck is based around winning first stride with Coral, but like it's suboptimal. I would rather be doing it second stride with Ange with a defensive deck, but like a defensive deck like that can't really handle the offensive decks in the format. Like I would probably still get shit on by Murakumo and DI still, but at least I would have a powerful option instead of, I don't know, Sonata is probably better than Coral at this point. But here we are making things work, but nobody plays premium, so nobody cares really, right?
It's like premium had so much potential, and it
still does.
It still does, but it's like it seems like the base has given up on it.
I haven't given up on premium. I feel like Bushiroad has given up. I mean, maybe some of the other players have given up on premium, but maybe they just don't like striding as much as I do. Maybe they're sick of playing against whatever's meta and whatnot. I don't know. I feel like maybe if they had a better ban list, meh. But what can I say about ban lists? I'm always like, oh, they should do good ban lists like Konami. But when was the last time Konami really did a good ban list? Come on. Anybody who's playing Yu-Gi-Oh! Right now knows that Christian Helki Fibrax, or whatever it's called, is just kind of not ruining the game, but it's kind of ruining the game. And they didn't ban it again. They released a new ban list like Friday. No, today's Friday. No, today's
Saturday.
Maybe it was Friday. Maybe it was Friday. Maybe it was Thursday. I don't know what art days anymore. The new ban list was revealed, and I probably shouldn't be using Mud Slap. We're actually running out of turns, aren't we? I'm gonna use high horsepower.
Yeah, I'm here struggling with max overgrowth.
Yeah, like why did you Dynamax Clefairy? I didn't want to say anything, but like, let me go big mode, because then I can, land these high horsepowers maybe. Oh, it's using Calm Mind. I think we're dead. It doesn't have a spread move, right? Right. It's over. It's just like in the actual game, the Suicune Calm Minds on you and sweeps you. Well, I mean, calling competitive the actual game is. I don't know about that. That's a bit sus. There's something that's nice about... Oh. Never mind.
I thought Clefairy was stronger than it was.
No, it's Clefairy.
Yeah.
It's okay. We'll just
it's
get
still a Clefairy. 65
just
or
get
not.
wiped. Listen. Neither of us needed Suicune anyway. It's fine. This is just supposed to be background footage.
Yeah. That's kind of what led me to Dynamax and Clefairy, because I was just like, meh.
Yeah, it's like, I'm just gonna press the buttons. It lighted up, and it felt like it was time to go big. So I went big, and now we are going home. Unless I get a big crit. That wasn't a crit? That was just big damage. Okay. Oh yeah, you were getting into that Digimon card game recently, yes? Is there any redraw type mechanics in there?
No. I was not getting into Digimon.
Oh, was that Leroy? Oh my god, I'm doing it again. I'm literally the worst.
I have a very checkered history with Bandai and card games. I want to see where they go with this.
Well, you know the rules of the game at least, right?
Nope.
They don't know the rules of the new Digimon game?
Nope.
Was it not?
I was just like, I refuse.
Was it Leroy
saw
then?
Yeah, it had to have been. I saw Digimon TCG, and I looked the other way.
Okay, I definitely wasn't either, because somebody was like, "Oh man, I'm starting to get into this Digimon game," and I was like, "Oh, that'll be a good talking point for the next time we're talking about redraws." I wonder what it's like in that game, but oh well. Speaking of other types of redraws, in Magic, this wasn't how they do the redraws now that I explained so terribly. They do slightly, or they used to have a worse version of it, and they had other versions of it that they were testing, like the OG version. I mean, it's not the OG version, but the version that was around for quite a long time, and was how it was when I learned, and how it was when I taught some other people. But the change was rather recent to this new way. You would just, instead of like drawing 7 and then putting some back to the bottom, you would just, after you mulliganed, you would draw 6 cards, and you would mulligan and draw to 5 cards, you would mulligan and draw to 4, and draw to 3, and then draw to 2, and then draw to 1. And then if you didn't want that one card in your hand, you're like, you know what? I choose to open with 0 cards. Fuck it. I don't want cards anymore. I don't need them to beat you. Who do you think I am? And then they had one where you could... Oh, maybe, no. I think it is this one, because they call it... No, I was thinking of this one. There was like it is the London Mulligan is what we call the new one, I think. Because there was one that was causing some issues around like they would like tested it at one major tournament or whatever. And they played this strange combo deck. It was like if it was in your opening hand or whatever, you had to like take a bonus mulligan. Oh yeah, I think it was that one. They decided that it didn't break the game enough, and it's fine if you want to run like elixir of whatever, and if it's in your opening hand, you bind it and you get to take an extra mulligan, so you can do some jank ass combo. Then fine, do some jank combo. Who cares? Magic is about jank combos, sort of. I don't need Yanxiao. I have my own Yanxiao. She has a mark and everything. Hopefully it lets us... Oh, we have to reconnect with the code again. Oh well. We'll just do that while we talk, I suppose. Have you ever played much Magic?
I used to.
You used to? Because that's another thing, because, like, in Vanguard, you know, you have to take your redraw. You're like, I always put back my 0s. Sometimes some players put back their 3s, some players keep some 3s. I have, in Bermuda, I've started getting into the habit of always keeping my 3s because I'm running, like, 13 at any given moment or whatever. So I can't always keep them in my opening hand. I'm sure I'll draw one at some point, right? Right, I won't have to assist for grade 3. I've never done that in my life. But then you can, like I said with the grade 1 thing, you can do it with grade 2s too. Like before they did the Sonata Lizzlet restriction with standard. I have to put in. I always forget to put in the link code. Before they did the choice restriction with Sonata and Lizzlet and standard, you could run 8 grade 2s with 4 Mine and 4 Lizzlet. And you just hard redrew looking for a grade 2, and you know, Aurora gives you a drop and draw and whatnot. And then, like, you know, if you assist, you assist. It happens. But, like, I did the math, and you usually didn't assist it, and I played it for, like, 3 weeks at locals and didn't assist, and Curtis is like, what is this? Every time he would watch me take an opening hand, he would get angrier and angrier each time, as he realized exactly how little statistics truly means in the face of a truly skilled grill gamer like me.
That's insane. I was trying to like tinker around with the numbers in pretty much all of my decks. Well, when and if I ever get my 4th Yasui, I could try something with that. But it's looking like until then, I'm either playing Dueling Dragons or Hyuga, and with Shiryuki back, it's Hyuga for the time being.
Hyuga's really good. Don't sleep on Hyuga.
I'm not sleeping on Hyuga at all.
Like, they didn't nerf him. Well, I guess they did nerf him. They nerfed Shiryuki, but then they brought back Shiryuki. He was meta-defining for so long. I love that deck. I'm still kind of sad that I traded that deck away. I shouldn't have. I really liked it. After a while, it took a while. It's so difficult to play. You have to play such a weird offensive early game with your nothing. And then, I guess you're like... I would always play this like weird defensive mid game that RJ would always do. That RJ's the best player in Las Vegas for anybody who's not from Las Vegas. He would always do this weird defensive play, and I was like, oh, I'll do that too. But whenever I would get stomped on by anybody else, it would be because of an aggressive play. He would always find some way to pull off the aggressive play at the end of the game after he stalled out a little bit of my gas. But then whenever I lost a mirror match at a larger tournament, because yeah, I won some of the mirror matches, but definitely not all of them. They would usually find some way to turn Hyuga into just enough offense, just fast enough to take you down. You use Shiryuki as an offensive piece or a defensive piece. It didn't really matter. The deck was just so strong and so versatile, you know? So that's kind of why the Shiryuki hit... I don't think anybody's going to say that the Shiryuki hit was too much or whatever back then. It was kind of everywhere. Hyuga was meta for a really long time. Like a year plus. No, not a year. No, I don't think it was a whole year. What, like...
That was the better part of 1 year, though.
Yeah, it was
for
pretty
sure.
close. It was close to one. Did you put in the code?
Yep. It's a
Man, it's always taken so long to get us to group together.
What do you think about redraws in a Vanguard centric deck versus a Rearguard centric deck? Do you feel they're fundamentally different?
I don't feel like they're fundamentally different. Because, you know, it's like if you open, you're playing a deck like a Coral, you know? You need to write up, well, maybe Coral's a bad example. It's kind of a good example, but not everybody plays Coral, which is why I hesitate. Let's talk OG. We're talking OG ride chains. We're playing Spectral Duke, okay? You know, you open your grade 1 Spectral Duke card and you kind of redraw like normal. But if you don't open it, you kind of you do redraw a little bit different. If you're certain grade, like if there's a grade 1 you need to ride, some people will just redraw their entire hand, no questions asked. But some people will keep, one grade 1 just because, and maybe they'll keep a grade 2 and just be like, nah, I'll assist for it. I would do that sometimes. Sometimes I would be rewarded. Sometimes, let's just say that making plays is about riding a thin line between that and feeding. And sometimes you feed. Sometimes you feed, okay? Don't judge me. I'm learning. That's how you get better at the game, is by getting bodied. So if you go out of your way to get bodied, you're going out of your way to get better, right? Man, I always forget to do the link code. Here,
I'm about to time out. I'm gonna quit it.
I did get timed out. That's why we're having this problem in the first place. Maybe if we try syncing it on 10. I'll count down from like 10 to 0, and then we'll press start on 0. I don't know. Link code. Okay. Count 10. I'll do the countdown. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Sync. Oh, I think I forgot to sync the audio visual for this. So I'll have to do that at the end of the recording. Remind me after we cut to do AV sync, okay? I'm counting on you. But I think that is kind of true. Like, but then if your decks are rearguard focused, and it doesn't really matter like what, like in golds or whatever, you're just kind of looking for a specific balance of grades, offense, defense, whatnot. Versus in decks like I guess you could call. I was gonna say I guess you could call Premium DI a Vanguard focused deck early on in the game, because they're not gonna call any rear guards or whatever. So I suppose they do fundamentally redraw differently than most of their opponents. Well, you can start the queue whenever, because they're looking for shield and whatnot, whereas most decks aren't going to keep their heal triggers. They're going to put them back. It's too bad we don't get to keep that Skeptile, and we didn't find it out there in the wild. Very sad. What do you think, though, of Vanguard versus, like, how do you, because your Overlord deck is rather Vanguard focused, so is there a way that you redraw that's, I should have taken Clefairy, I'm trolling. I got excited with the Skeptile. But one of our friends took Clefairy, and Jigglypuff. We're officially tanky.
Well, I redraw with the Vanguard strategy in mind. Like,
Looking
before
for the right rides
I
and
would,
whatnot?
like looking for the right rides, but looking for like early aggression isn't something that I really do in that deck. I take a like turtle pace. So, okay. Yeah, Rotom. Um, so
Probably for the best,
of
right? You
course,
can't be too fast with a deck like that. You'll end up running out of advantage.
exactly. So I take like a really slow and steady, especially because I deal like I usually go force 2, so I'm dealing 2 damage at a time. So by limiting how much damage I give you before that, it prevents you from, well, hopefully, it'll prevent you from using your counterblast skills to kind of like match my momentum. Um,
Oh yeah, because if that's always the thing with counterblast, right? Like if who's pushing who. So if you're the one getting pushed, then they don't have as much opportunity to push you because they're always low on damage. Like they use all their counterblasts and then you give them like 1 or 2 and retire all their rear guards, and then they don't have. As long as you keep giving, like you pace how much damage you give them, they can't give it all. So like if you give, because you give them in multiples of 2, so if you give them 4 damage, they could just delete you off the planet. But if you give them 2 one turn, and then 2 the next turn, and then they heal, and you give them 2 more.
yeah,
Like
you control their pacing.
yeah.
Yep. So what I do is I try to make sure that I have like a 1, a 2, or 3, but I'm looking for cards that can, like I'm looking for specifically either Lava Flow or Heat Shot for my grade 1 ride. I usually specifically look for
You're not looking for Sable?
oh god, who plays Sable and Cross? Ooh, it's disgusting.
Once
Never.
upon a time, I mean, once upon a time, that card was it was an okay card. Like if you just
That
had
was during that period of time where Kagero's biggest weakness was its lack of rear guards.
yeah, I
Like,
mean, when season
imagine
2
if we got Melt Stream like when it came out in Japan.
Melt Stream, you're gonna have to refresh my memory.
Melt Stream is like when it attacks, you counterblast when it gains 5k, but you can soul blast when it gains 10k instead. Well, 10k on top of it.
Huh.
So 15k boost for counterblast 1, soul blast 1. So if you just need to like
Grade
push
1?
big numbers, grade 2.
Grade 2 it. It's fine, I guess.
Yeah, it's like it's something for offense because Kagero couldn't really hit high numbers without, going for a
Not on the rear guard
heavy
columns. Not with Force 2.
Yeah.
Definitely not.
No, but I mean even before Force 2, you really couldn't do it without, like in something like Waterfall, you wanted your force markers on Vanguard.
Yep. Specifically
meant
for
that
water.
you are-
Yeah.
Yeah, and that was pretty much the deck up until the Great came out.
Yeah.
So
I mean, like the next best variant was like of Kagero. It was whatever the default one was like. It was still Waterfall, but it was like Waterfall Arc Dragon instead of everybody was playing Overlord, I guess.
yeah,
I think that was
And
like
it was
the
like-
build for a week or 7, but then it was the Great, and then now it's this, and the rest is history.
yeah, like you just with Force 2 in the picture, Kagero just did not have the rear guards to be of any good. It wasn't there.
Yeah, they never really had good rear guards, though. You know, like it's
And
not something
it
you
was
can.
like it seemed like the trade-off for them being able to retire, which on the one hand I understand, but then literally everything starts getting
Yeah, everything has a time. Like board wipes are just like part of standard now. Like if your deck doesn't have a board wipe, what are you doing? You know.
yeah.
I'm kind of surprised Bermuda didn't get a board wipe, considering their new clan mechanic is stealing other ones. Like they even stole Mega Colony stuff. Like, oh, what is this? Who's in charge of this video game? This is clearly a bunch of incompetence. Speaking of that, weren't you were posting some drama? Didn't you hear like the set designers of like the Luard set or whatever were fired?
Supposedly, like there was like some rumblings about that the designers of like sets 8 through 10 and presumably the Bermuda set were no longer with the company, and that there is a new design team coming in
I like.
along with the playtesters. I don't know how valid that is.
They could use some new playtesters.
But-
Maybe some playtesters who play
Playtesters?
premium. Thanks. I'm kidding.
Playtesters,
I'm not kidding.
100% necessary. The design team, if they did swap out their design team, then hopefully we are in for like something like good for a change. because it was like between sets 8 and 9, it was like, all right, game speeding up, but it wasn't like nobody stood a chance that there was still a relatively diverse meta.
Kinda.
And then Luard came out, and it was like Luard versus the world.
Yeah, Luard's kind of disgusting. It, like, the Nemin hit wasn't really enough, honestly. I feel like maybe people have been talking about the new kind of errata where you can prevent, or like, not new kind of errata, the new kind of attack they've been putting at the end of those skills that can facilitate the gaining of extra gifts. So like, but you can't get any more gifts this turn. So like, if they just like errated Luard to have that on there, I guess is what some people have been saying would be a good way to change things up, to keep it from being that much stronger than everybody else. I think you and I are talking about that earlier. Like, if the deck had like 2 force gifts instead of 4, it would be a little easier to handle, you know?
Well, 2 instead of 3, because you'll get the one from the ride that's pure ride, then you go back down. And it's just like,
but then the next turn, then they ride, and then they have 4, and then they have 5, and then, oh, they have 5 of them, you are dead. It's over. But if they had 3 of them, then it's okay.
Yep.
Like, I can kind of handle 3 gifts. Like, that one turn, the first turn when they get 3, it's almost handleable. But then the next turn when they have 5, are you kidding me? Hello? That's just backbreaking. Like, nothing in standard can handle that. And the fact that it gets advantage while playing that aggressively is kind of gross.
Yeah. Luard 100% needs to be errated. I think there's another combo.
Or can we just ban Luard, guys? Can we just fucking ban Luard? We're just like, okay, guys, play Shadow or play Blasters.
Banning isn't always a solution, though, and that's the thing. It's like,
I guess, but
they
like,
just need to hit the cards around it. Like, I think Abyssal Owl is one of the cards that people are talking about, and I'm not sure if the other one is Charon or not. I can't remember who it was, but they're saying those 2 cards, if they get hit, it might bring Luard down to like bearable levels. And it's like that plus an errata, sure. But if you're gonna do that to Luard, you also need to hit Wonder Ezel in Gurgit.
I think they were. Oh well, not them. I was talking to Leroy about that, I believe, on our episode about the new ban list. They were talking about in Japan. They were thinking they were gonna hit Wonder Ezel with a choice restriction, but then they didn't. So they I guess their thought would be, oh well, we're gonna start out season 3 with some slight power creep, you know, similar-ish to how season 2 started. You know, season 2 had the stuff that came out in the Heroic Evolution was kind of nutso compared to everything else. Like, that was a set with Azure Dragon. Azure Dragon for a hot minute was like $40 or whatever. Everybody was all on that shit. And then the next set came out, everybody was like, no, Azure Dragon is not that good. But then they were still on Overlord though.
I pulled an Azure Dragon SP, and I still have it.
Still have it? Nice.
I don't want it.
Wait, SP? I thought it came in.
Yeah.
I didn't think they were doing SPs in those sets. I thought it was like SVR and that was it. Oh, do you mean like the XVR thing?
No, it was a SP. I'm pretty sure it's an Azure Dragon. I gotta go and check. It's either Azure Dragon or a Luminal Dragon. It might be a Luminal.
Oh wait, is it OG artwork?
I gotta go look.
I think so, because I think there was they were doing some things like that. Like I have a scan of Dragonic Overlord that I use for some stuff of the end, and it's SP, and it has the OG artwork, but maybe that was from a different set.
That's actually. That's 100% the Cross VR.
No. There was an OG artwork for Dragonic Overlord at the end.
Yeah. That was there were 2 Cross VRs. So there was one that had the new artwork with the Kai silhouette on it, and then there was one that had the old artwork without it.
Oh, it was a cross. I thought it was its own special rarity. I didn't think it was a cross, because I thought Cross VRs were just the ones with the anime character as the gold stamping. But then this one was, it was
that
different.
One was a parallel SPR. That was a parallel Cross VR.
Parallel, that's the one.
Yeah. And the regular Cross VR was the one I liked the least. And I didn't want to get the parallel because I already
Because it was
have
too
like 4
expensive? Because
SP.
that's the other reason. Because it's look at
There's
that
that.
artwork, dude. Look at it. That's the
Yeah,
artwork.
but
That is
I
that is
already
the
have
artwork of
the
Cardfight
SPs though.
Vanguard.
I already have the original SPs though.
Uh,
There's no appeal for that for me there.
whatever. Whatever. I'm not mad. You're mad.
And I actually like the new art for the end.
It's like fine. I just love that old artwork. Maybe it's because I didn't get to actually play OG the end. I just had to look at it instead of actually playing with it.
That's probably it.
Maybe
Because
it is.
I had it and played it like every time it was relevant. I played it when it came out. I played it with Dauntless.
You played it when it came out? Did you play against anything like Brutal Butler Novas in your time back then?
My friend Crespo actually played Cat Butler Novas.
That's the way, Brutal Butler. You got Smash. Sometimes, every now and again. Like, of course you'd win sometimes. It's still the end. But
yeah,
like,
but it's also just like, but why?
mm-hmm. That's for sure. You think it's like, oh, it's just a grade 2, and then suddenly they call 3 cat butlers, and you're like, what? That's legal? You're allowed to do. It's not hard once per turn, and that is why Vanguard cards are now hard once per turns. Every time you Lizzalette into a Lizzalette, and you're like, oh yeah, that's why you're once per turn. Imagine that universe where you Lizzalette into a Lizzalette into a third Lizzalette. You're just like, I get all this free stuff. Intercepts for days. Because usually that'd be like early game. That'd be like turn 1. You get Lizzalette into Lizzalette into Lizzalette into... Like, you ride one, call one, back row, and you're like, wop, wop, wop. And that is what we call a board in a box. In Magic the Gathering terms. I believe that is what the community calls cards like that. That one thing. I mean, that's what Yu-Gi-Oh! Is now, right? Everybody's a board in a box. Oh, I have a... bunch of pings there from you.
Yeah, wait.
I see.
It was like Butler. Nah, Butler is just nope. Nothing pleasant about that.
No, that was something that was cool about them back in the day too. Was they could, because they didn't have any grade 3s. Their boss card was brutal Jack, Genocide Jack, whatever. And I mean, Genocide Jack sounds way cooler, but whatever. And if your boss card is, you know, a grade, just like with the grade 3 that you would redraw for, you would redraw for that, and it helps with the consistency overall when you have. I mean, like, wow, redrawing for your boss card, what a concept. But a deck like that would have a much harder time existing in Magic. Well, I guess not in Magic, in OG Yu-Gi-Oh, where there's a harder time redrawing, because like if you didn't hit your grade 2 or your cat butlers, you were kind of at a loss. You know, that's what the whole deck is based around. So you redraw looking for things like that, which makes the deck like a whole lot more viable. Starting with able to dig deep for cat butlers in your opening hand, because you just need a grade 1 brutal Jack, and then that's it. So you just redraw everything, dig in for those brutal butlers or for cat butlers, so that you can do the brutal butler combo or Legion combos or whatever Razor shenanigans you want to get up to. I'm not here to tell you how to live your life. I think that's most of what I wanted to talk about.
I liked how slow Yu-Gi-Oh was when it first came out.
Yeah,
Like,
it was kind of a nice change of pace. It was kind of like how standard Magic feels when it's working right nowadays. I mean, I guess you can't relate to that so much. You don't play much Magic anymore, do you?
I'm planning on coming back though, eventually.
Yeah, it's. I mean, like,
But
there's only so much standard.
maybe
you
only
can
for
play.
Commander. I might only play Commander.
That's a mood. A lot of people nowadays, they have their Commander deck or whatever, and then you just kind of play with your other friends who are into it and whatnot. So everybody can, like, quote unquote play the game. But like Magic, like Commander is some sort of magic, that's for sure. Like, it's like, imagine if we were playing, Suicune again. Are you making us fight Suicune again? Is this you? Are you doing this to us, Rhys?
Yeah, so I can catch it and get it over with and start finding other Pokemon.
Alright, alright. Let me help you out here, Rhys. Let me show you how we beat Suicune. This was all part of my strategy. I passed Dynamax a few rounds ago waiting for this moment.
I'm gonna burn them.
I suppose that's most of what we needed to talk about with redraws. So there's not too many other games that because Pokemon doesn't have a redraw. Pokemon is so draw focused though, it doesn't fucking need one if I'm being honest. It's have you ever watched people play Pokemon? They draw like half their deck in one turn. And then the other guy goes and then they draw half their deck and then the other guy goes and he draws the rest of his deck. And then the other guy goes and then he decks out. It's not that fast, but it's pretty close to that fast. I'm not exaggerating that much. They have a supporter card that reads draw 7.
Yep. I play Pokemon very briefly and draw power for days.
Yeah, like, you thought Pot of Greed, draw 2 was powerful. Okay, so Sycamore is like, bro, don't worry about it. I got you. Draw 7 cards right here, right now. Because, like, discarding your whole hand isn't a cost if your hand's empty. And if you can play as many cards as you want in a turn, then there's nothing stopping you from emptying your hand. I guess that's another reason why those games don't need a redraw system, is because they don't have, like... I mean, like, Pokemon has an energy system, which is, like... It's kind of like a mana land resource system. But they don't need it because of they don't need the redraw because of how silly the game has with draw power. But Yu-Gi-Oh! Kind of, without a resource system, doesn't have as much need for redraws. Like, if Magic didn't have a mulligan system, the game would kind of be unplayable, right? Like, having to get those lands in your opening hand is gonna be awful. Like, I don't believe Hearthstone has a mulligan system, do they? It's been a minute since I played Hearthstone, and whenever I do,
played Hearthstone.
Well, it's been a minute, but I'm pretty sure in Hearthstone they don't have a redraw mechanic because you get the mana automatically at the start of every turn. And then in Vanguard, Vanguard might not have a redraw if we didn't ride grades every turn, or like if we got to search our deck for like a 1, 2, and 3 at the beginning. But that would be silliness. No. Games with resource systems like that, they kind of need to have redraw systems. They would be. Like, honestly, just for a minute, just try and imagine what it would feel like to play Magic the Gathering without a redraw system. You just sit there and you're like, okay, I guess I have 7 lands. This is fine. Or I guess I have no land. The game would be pretty much unplayable. Like, it's wonderful of a game as it is. As much as I do like Vanguard more than Magic. It's more fun to me. But Magic, as from a game design standpoint, they're kind of better overall, I guess I would say. It's like, you're trying to have a competitive experience with somebody, and then triggers happen. I mean, calling Vanguard competitive, that was my first mistake, was taking the game a little too seriously. You know, it's a little more casual of a game, and that's something I need sometimes. You know, taking games too seriously all the time.
Yeah, that's what we need, just pick up and have a good time with. Like, that's why I play. It's like the game that's easy to learn, hard to master for the most part. Like,
hey, we're playing the poster child of this right now. A game so simple that the children can get through the story mode like it's nothing. But oh man, is it one of the most deep competitive experiences you can do. It is like esport level wonders. It's just phenomenal. Like, from a competitive standpoint, I just can't. I can't stop gushing over Pokemon enough. The way they've handled the metagame this year, everyone was complaining like, oh man, not having all the Pokemon stuff. The way they handle adding in new Pokemon slowly over time, like, one day where it's like, okay, you know what, actually, you can actually just use Blastoise and Venusaur. And just adding just those 2 Pokemon changed the way that people were playing the game for months. So, if you're looking for competitive experience, Vanguard players...
They're guaranteed catches, right?
Yes, these are guaranteed. You can use anything you want. Premier Ball, Friend Ball, whatever. I don't need either of these Pokemon. But if you are looking for competitive experience Vanguard players that will respect your integrity and it will respect the time you put in and give you just as much out of it as you put in, I would recommend Pokemon or Magic instead. Vanguard is it's much more fun. It's kind of like it's a really bad analogy comparing it to Melee, because people play got way competitive with Melee, and it became like the best. It's the best fighting game or whatever. But then the creator's like, "What are you guys doing with my party game? You broke it." That's what the Vanguard designers must feel like sometimes. It's like, why are you guys trying to like make a competitive circuit for this? There are heal triggers. Hello?
Yeah, like
Right? Like, it's you need to take the game with a lot of grains of salt. It's a competitive experience to some extent, but it is a much more fun, casual take on it. You know, it is very fun. Don't get me wrong. That's why I like it so much. I think I would call it my third favorite game of all time, my favorite trading card game. But it doesn't respect my competitive notions of it as much as the game doesn't respect my competitive notions as much as I respect its, I suppose. But I guess that's about it for today, isn't that right? We should probably get off to bed and whatnot. I think both of us are rather sleepy. You know us, always sleepy. But anyway, I guess we should head it off by asking the viewers a question of the day on the way out. Is there anything you wanted to ask our audience, Rhys? Anyone who's still here?
Well, seeing as how this is a Vanguard related channel,
Yeah.
I would kind of want to hear stories of how people first encountered Vanguard. Like, what got you interested in the game?
Yeah. How did you discover Vanguard? That's always pretty interesting. Like, why don't you answer your own question real quick?
A friend of mine actually got me into the game to kind of get away from Yu-Gi-Oh because that was when it was starting to get out of control, and Vanguard was just starting up.
Yeah, it was like the Synchro era. That actually ties into my story.
Well, no, it was I think it was the Ixis era.
Oh yeah, it was like right around. It was like the end of the Synchro era. It was like the ending of it.
Yeah. Yeah, right around the time Utopia or something like that came out.
Yeah, the structure deck came out like a few months after, I think.
And I came into Vanguard kicking and screaming. But it was what everybody was playing.
But now once you got the taste for it, it's kind of hard to stop scratching that Vanguard itch. It's just so fun, right?
Yeah, it was one of those games that once I learned the flow of it, I just wanted to get better. But after taking a break for like a couple years and then coming back with the reboot, I guess I looked at the game very differently with like a fresh set of eyes while still retaining like my prior experiences. And it's enough so that standard now feels fresher, and it's kind of like getting that bit of the I guess you could say the starry eyes from when I first encountered the game. And I think that played a really big part in keeping me into it because it was the nostalgia factor as well as like that fresh, somewhat fresh coat of paint. Somewhat being that, you know, premium is still technically a thing, but
it's not like the other games, is it? Vanguard's just inherently its own thing. It's just
it's like it's almost kind of like playing a turn-based RPG.
Kind of, right? Like I've always loved that about it. I get my turn, you get your turn,
and then we react off of that. Like, that's my favorite thing about Vanguard because I love turn-based RPGs.
No counter spells, no trap cards, turn-based
like
combat.
Pokemon kind of has that now because you have the held items and stuff. But...
Yeah, but Pokemon gets it. I mean, like singles it's much more like that, but in doubles it gets really complicated because especially they've added this new thing called dynamic speed, where for generations, literal generations of human beings, the speed would be calculated at the beginning of the turn, and then what would happen, and then everything would just happen based off of that. But now, like in Gen 6, imagine you were in a double battle, and one of your Pokemon used Tailwind, doubling the speed of your ally Pokemon. You'd think now that my prankster Rimiscot went first before any Pokemon, and used used Tailwind, and now my adamant, slower but more offensive Dragonite would totally outspeed my opponent's my opponent's faster, less damage output Dragonite. right? Because my Tailwind went up before either Dragonite went off, so clearly my Dragonite would get affected by Tailwind and attack them next. But no, actually, because at the beginning of the turn, Tailwind wasn't up, and the game calculated everything then. But now the game calculates things whenever. So if you were to adjust the... I don't need to get too into it. You can imply what happens next.
Yeah. But yeah, I didn't even realize that change happened.
Oh yeah, it's a big deal. If you don't know about it, it's really important to know for doubles. It changes the game, honestly. I've done so many sick plays with it. It's kind of cool because you can change the weather to change Pokemon. Grumble, grumble, grumble. And to answer your, now my turn to answer your question of the day. It was how did I get into the game? Basically, that was the question, right? Kinda.
Yep. How'd you first come into contact with Vanguard?
It was by total mistake. I was looking for Yu-Gi-Oh deck profiles about TG's Tech Genus. Blaster or Blade Blaster was the name of their boss card, and I was like, after I don't know, I couldn't find any good deck lists online. So what, like 12 years, this was so long ago. What was, like 9 years ago? I'm like 20 something. So yeah, I was like 12, 11, 13. So I was somewhere in there. And I'm looking, I'm like, you know what? Maybe if I check for the anime episode, I'll get some ideas. Full on cringed here. And I'm looking for the anime episode where the guy uses a Blade Blaster. But YouTube brought up Blaster Blade content. It was like a card game. This is the card game. Same thing. So I watched an episode of the Vanguard anime thinking it was like, oh wait, this isn't the Yu-Gi-Oh anime. What is this? Is this some Lost Millennia arc or something? So I clicked on it and I was like, this is clearly a different card game. But I was so excited. I was so intrigued by it that I went back and I watched the first episode and wow, I taught you how to play the game. And it was so sick. And that is how I learned the game through the anime, which I feel quite a few other people have.
Mine was, for the most part, like that. I did leave out the part that my friend was harassing me to
watch the anime to learn to play, right? Oh my god, I asked a girl to do that when I was in high school. They watched it and they're like, no, the animation is garbage, I cannot watch. And I was like, how could you? I feel betrayed.
Didn't have the best animation.
It was so bad. I can't believe I actually asked somebody to do that. I was so cringe. I mean, I'm still cringe. It's actually become my thing. I embraced it. Back then, I was cringe, and it was cringy. Now it's cringy, but it's like meme level cringy. You know. Anyway.
Yeah, like I tried to go back and watch an episode, and I was looking at my phone like disgusted Tanjiro, like,
well,
how did I do it?
Anyway, that's all the time we have for today. We'll see you in the next redraw. That we tanked on this one for about an hour, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you all have a wonderful day, and we'll see you next time. And then cut. Then we're doing that AV sync. Oh, you said till then. Till then, bye.